What's happening, YouTube? KitePlanet here, or Kite if you're like that. Some people aren't like that. I'll never get tired of saying it, but I'm like that. I'm back at it again with the third one of these videos, the third one in the series. So hit the like button and subscribe if you want to continue to keep seeing videos like these. I've already put two out, Toji and Shinra. Those will be linked at the end of this video. If you haven't, this is your first time seeing a video from this series, go check those videos out at the end. They were the first ones. And yeah, I think that's it. This is a bit of a different one today. It's not really different, it's not really special, but this character is a little bit more iconic than the other two that I've done. He holds a little bit more weight. He really is an icon. He really is in today's media. Like, this character is, you know. You already seen the thumbnail, you've already seen the title or read the title. So I think I should just get right into it and stop wasting your time. So you already know today we're going to be creating a Hatsu, an original NEN ability for our man Guts from Berserk. I'm not really creating it. Well, I am, but I'm kind of just post-editing Kite here. And in the next few seconds, I say how I didn't really do that much. I'm lying. I went insane with this ability. I went way overboard. Not even to mention the post-mortem NEN aspect that is added. Spoiler alert for the video. But I went overboard, and I think you guys are going to like the conditions in every single thing that I did. So don't listen to what I'm about to say in the next few seconds, but carry on. Going based off what he already does. Like for Toji, I created an entirely new ability because he doesn't have anything. For Shinra, this is more of like the Shinra type video where I turn his abilities into a Hatsu. I give it rules and regulations so he can't just have it. So yeah, I'm going to be turning it into a NEN ability. And I know you're thinking, hey, that's not really that interesting. I already know Guts' abilities, but I think you should stick around because I did add in some pretty neat conditions to get the ability to work. You're going to want to stick around to the end because there is post-mortem NEN. Everybody loves that. Post-mortem NEN, you cannot beat that. Anytime that gets brought up, I get chills, man. That's my favorite subject. It's not talked about nearly enough in the series at all because it's just not finished, and you know, nothing we could do about it. So obviously we got to keep the main thing, and all that means is first things first. We have to establish what NEN affinity Guts will be categorized in. So what are you thinking, guys? I mean, I know y'all can't respond directly to what I'm saying, but I didn't really think too hard about this one. There was pretty much only really one category that popped into my head, and that was enhancer. So I decided to make Guts an enhancer. But you might be thinking that's a little boring, but hear me out. We're not going regular enhancer. We're not doing Gon enhancer. We're not doing Uvogin enhancer. I'm taking Guts up a notch because it is Guts, and I think that if he was in the Hunter verse, just based on his personality, his whole life, everything, his whole story, I think he'd be up in the upper echelon of NEN users. So we're going the Isaac NETERO route. You feel me? Get excited, okay? Because not only is he a master of enhancement, or he's an enhancer, but he does take, manipulation and conjuration in his abilities. So he's an enhancer, but he uses that 40 or 60% of conjuration and the same for manipulation for his ability. So it's interesting. Stick with me here. All right, so first, we need to get the name of the ability. Well, second, because the first was defining what the infinity was. Second, and it's not less important, is the name of the ability. So this one took me a while. I sat there, did some research, and it took me a second. But I came up with it because I didn't want to just go, we already know what this is. It's called Berserker's Grail. What does Grail mean to you? Grail can mean a lot of things. And today in my life, Grail means like a cool Funko Pop, like a rare one, like a Light Yagami or a L or a Golden Frieza with red eyes. That's a Grail, something special. But in this case, it's a little bit different, a little bit more traditional in that sense. But we'll get into that in a second. So what is Berserker's Grail? What does the ability do? We already you can guess, gander. So what it does, it grants Guts a suit of armor, and it boosts his agility, his speed, and his power, while also shutting off the senses of the body, so he cannot feel pain, which allows him to break the bounds of what humans can actually do. therefore, making an enhancement. So that is what the ability does. It grants him the Berserker's armor. So we're going with the Berserker's armor. We couldn't just leave that out. It's guts. That goes with guts. That's like a toothbrush and toothpaste. You just can't have one without the other. If you're out there, the other. You can't just be out there brushing your teeth with water. So we have to bring the Berserker armor into it. So now he's given the Berserker armor, and it does what it does. It grants him agility, speed, power, and it allows him to fight even while his body's being destroyed and ravaged. All right, so how does it allow him to do this? Because it can't just do this. Once again, I'm going to have to keep saying it for my new people, because I know there's going to be new people. You can't just have an ability in Hunter x Hunter. That's not how it works, and that is why it is one of the best power systems, if not it is the best power system. I'm just being modest for a second, but it is the best power system. So how does this work? Once the armor is donned, hundreds of spikes pierce the body of the user. But they're not just regular spikes. At the end of all of these spikes are hypodermic needles, okay? And that's important. So they turn the pain signals off. They also reinforce the bone structure, the ligaments, tendons. That way, when they start to tear or they start becoming under heavy stress, it reinforces it. It makes Guts be able to keep going. And also, he can't feel it. Like, he can't feel if his arm breaks. If it breaks, it'll still be put right back into place, but he won't even feel it. So it allows him to keep fighting. This is a pretty broken ability. So this ability allows him to move beyond human limits, and not just like regular beyond human limits, but like he does in Berserk. He can move really fast, and he's just an agile, huge dude. All right, so obviously you can't just be granted these things. Like, you can't just have these things work. They have to come at a cost. So what are the conditions that allow this ability to be able to function like that? This is where it gets interesting, guys. Bear with me here. Condition 1. The suit of armor consumes Guts' blood to operate. So it runs on not only just aura, but blood as well. That's where the hypodermic needles at the end of all the spikes come into play. They slowly drain the blood, okay? And I did some research here, so it takes about 5 minutes if you're hit in a critical place to bleed out. Obviously, Guts can't just bleed out. So we're going to say that, it's not a critical point. It's not hitting the critical spots. So we'll add another 5 minutes to double that. Let's say it takes twice as long because none of his vital spots were hit. There's not something in his carotid artery or his femoral artery. There's nowhere, the spikes aren't hitting that. And if they are, they haven't ruptured it. So yeah, we'll say add another 5 minutes. So that means 10 minutes. And now, Guts is not a regular sized person. He's like 6'3", 260 or something like that. He's a massive guy. So he has more blood. That's just the reality of it. Bigger people in real life have more blood. It takes more blood to fill up their body. So we add another 5 minutes. And that's where we come into the second condition, where he has 15 minutes maximum to use this ability. When Guts activates Berserker's Grail, he has 15 minutes to operate this Hatsu, or we'll get into ore in a second. But the third condition is he can only activate this ability when there's a comrade around. Why? Because we got to take in the natural essence of what the Berserker armor is. It makes you lose your mind. It feeds on the darkness in your soul. It allows you to keep going. But not only that, we're going to twist that and add it to the fact that a person has to be around because they have to keep Guts aware of like the time and what's going on. He's gonna be in the fight with his armor and his Hatsu and all that stuff, but he needs someone to be like, hey, Guts, like, you don't got that much time left, because he's gonna lose himself. That's what Guts does. He loses himself in the fight, and other people have to come to his aid to be like, yo, come back. So that's where that comes in. A comrade has to be around for Berserker's Grail to activate. Does that make sense? So let me go over these conditions again. The suit consumes Guts' blood to operate. The spikes pierce his body, turn off all the nerve signals. They turn off all the nerve signals and pain receptors, and it consumes his blood, and not only his aura. So 2, 15 minutes max with this ability. And then 3, you can only activate it when a comrade is near. This is where those conditions come in. Now we have a restriction. Failure to release this Hatsu after 15 minutes will result in death. We're going the death route. So Guts truly, and I mean it, that is a hard deadline of 15 minutes, because it is consuming your blood. And once it consumes all of your blood, you are going to die. And I named it Berserker's Grail. This is where the name comes in, because a grail, like the Holy Grail, is a cup. So essentially the armor functions as a grail, as a cup, as a chalice, and it fills up with blood, and it takes 15 minutes to fill up with all of your blood. If you allow the suit to fill up with all of your blood, you die. It takes all of your blood. You'll die. So that restriction was only half of it, though. The first part was failure to release this Hatsu after 15 minutes will result in death once you release it or run out of aura. It doesn't just kill you instantly. So if I'm Guts and I'm fighting for 15 minutes, my ability's up, I'm fighting hard, and I'm just, I can't get it done in 15 minutes. Depending on the situation, if Guts loses himself or his comrade forgets to remind him of this, and that, whatever it may be, if he feels it necessary, he can go further. He can still fight even without the blood, because, you know, he's inside of the aura, inside of the NEN, inside of the suit. But once he either releases the ability or runs out of aura. So he either releases the ability or runs out of aura. So I imagine him saying, fighting, boom, boom, he kills the big bad guy found on the story, and he's like, shit, it's been 25 minutes. I'm dead. Like, this is it for me. As soon as I release my ability, I got plenty of aura left, because once again, the ability doesn't consume that much aura. It consumes the blood. That's the trade-off. That aura is going into the Dragon Slayer, the giant sword. So he still wields that around. He still has that Shu, the advanced application of NEN that surrounds weapons and objects with your NEN. He uses Shu on that, and essentially when he's swinging the Dragon Slayer blade, there's nothing that can block it. He's an enhancer. When you're coming into contact with that, it's shattering and probably cutting most people in half, cutting off limbs. Not really much you can do about it unless you're another enhancer and you have stuff like, he wouldn't be able to just chop NETERO up like that, because NETERO has the Guanin Bodhisattva that could block it and do all that stuff. But yeah, most of his aura will probably be going into like the activation of the ability, and most of it will go into the sword, him swinging around, and just other stuff he needs to do. But he'll still have a little aura left, and that's why he's like, yo, I'm done. Like, I beat him, but at what cost? Like, I'm dead. As soon as I deactivate it, I got plenty of aura left, but there's just no point in lingering around. And I imagine there's a scene where he just sits down and deactivates the ability and he dies, right? The ability ends. Like, this is what this comes with. I love this, and I don't want to just kill off Guts, but he's one of them guys, man. He's one of those things where it's like, everything is a moment. Everything is heartfelt. Everything's powerful. And so having this ability have a hard time limit of 15 minutes is very important. But he does have a comrade around him in order to activate, so they can be like, yo, 15 minutes up, like, you gotta go, like, let's go. And Guts can choose, like, all right, you're right. But like, he has to finish. Fights don't last 15 minutes. This is not, I know it may last 15 episodes, but those 15 episodes are like 6 minutes. So it's not like Guts is like on the verge of death every time he fights. This is something where it's like he's fighting a bunch of people, and it's just like do. And of course, we can add the thing where it's like, okay, once you do that, you have a 5-hour cooldown time. He cannot activate this ability, actually not 5 hours, until his blood replenishes. So he has to eat something and rest, and then however long that takes. So let's just say 24 hours. So he can only use the ability once a day if he pushed it to his limits. Like if he got to 14 minutes and was like, all right, deactivate, he wouldn't be able to use it for another day. But if he used it for like 3 minutes, I mean, you know, he could eat something, drink a little, get some fluids back in him, and then he'll be ready to go, if that makes sense. So it just depends on the length of time you have the Hatsu in use. So let me go over this again before I get to the next thing. I hope you're still here. Hit that like button and subscribe if you are still here, because we got some good things coming. I hate to go off on a tangent right here, but we got 2 different videos coming. One doesn't even have to do with NEN. We're going off the script. So I want y'all to be around for that one, because I put a lot of thought into that one. But so let me go over it again. Berserker's Grail grants Guts a suit of armor using its enhancement, but it also uses manipulation to move the armor and conjuration to create it, just like NETERO's Guanin Bodhisattva. So how does this ability work? How does this Hatsu work? Spikes come out, pierce his entire body, shut off the pain receptors. They also consume his blood, and in return, it grants him extreme human, superhuman strength and feats. Like he can go beyond. No NETERO, not beyond NETERO. He can go beyond. and he's actually moving. And it's like, and the aura that it takes to use the Dragon Slayer, he can focus all his aura on that because the trade-off for using the NEN is the blood. So he can transfer and use aura on for the fight instead of having to maintain his Hatsu, if that makes sense. The conditions are it consumes the blood, 15-minute time limit, and you can only activate it when you got one of your homies around, one of the comrades are around. Restriction is you can only use it for 15 minutes. If you go past the 15 minutes, you die. But only after you release the Hatsu or run out of aura. So it's not a hard death. You can go past it. But once you do go past it, know that your fate is sealed. You know what I'm saying? That moment I talked about, I beat him, but, you know, let me just release my Hatsu. It's already over. Boom, he's dead. And that's it. Okay, so now we move on to the post-mortem NEN, the important part, the most fun I had talking about. So this goes a little beyond the bounds of Hunter x Hunter itself. It takes to some concepts that are not really discussed at all. And they're things like I didn't make it up, but there's one that I kind of fabricated a little bit just to add a little spice. You know what I'm saying? So once Guts dies in this suit, like I said, 15 minutes is up, he dies in it from not releasing his Hatsu. His soul or consciousness is inscripted into the armor itself, and the armor remains after his death. How is this possible, you may ask? Well, you take the divine script. If you remember that, his soul and consciousness turns and manifests itself and writes itself on the armor, ingrains itself onto the armor in the form of the divine script. And the divine script is the stuff you see. If you remember when Gon got the box from Jing, and he was like, how, like, it's got these weird symbols on it. How do we open it? You apply your NEN to it, and that's how it works. The same with how Greed Island worked. It has that divine script. And so it inscribes his soul and consciousness into the armor using the divine script. That way the armor lingers on, and the armor becomes a NEN artifact. Now, that's not something that's real, but I made that up because it's like, I feel like there has to be things that are just like artifacts, and they possess a lot of NEN. Like when they were at York New City, and you could tell when someone worked really hard on something that there was a lot of NEN imbued in it, and it was radiating NEN. Like imagine if like we took Hunter x Hunter to like Egypt. Imagine the NEN radiating off the pyramids or Stonehenge or any great megalithic structure or monolithic structure. Either way. So that's really cool. The armor lingers on, and somebody can choose to wield and don the armor now that it is a artifact. It exists. It was once NEN, but it became real at the cost of Guts' soul and consciousness. And so maybe his soul and consciousness linger. Like he can speak a little bit through the armor. He can direct, have little conversations, kind of like the vestiges of the former One for All users in My Hero. Like he can kind of do that thing to the effect. And somebody can wield the armor, and it doesn't have the same restrictions. It kind of functions like the actual Berserker armor from Berserk. Like it doesn't take anything from you. It just makes you lose your consciousness because your consciousness becomes entwined with Guts, and Guts died, and sure, he has revenges and regrets and all that stuff. So it consumes you when you wear it. So you cannot wear the armor for very long. That's the same, but everything else doesn't matter. It pierces you. It makes you fight longer, all that stuff. So that's cool. Postmortem NEN is he basically becomes like Alphonse, and he becomes a suit of armor, but he has less autonomy. Like he can't just walk around. He can't be a walking around suit of armor that's empty, but he is inscribed into that armor via divine script. I think that's really cool. Let me know your thoughts. That's pretty much the entire ability. I kind of went off on a limb. I don't know if you're following me. If you are following me, thank you, because sometimes I get to talking and I feel like I said something out loud, but I didn't say it out loud. I said it in my head, skipped over it. But yeah, I think that makes sense. He's an enhancer, armor, he's got postmortem NEN. There are rules and conditions, strict restrictions. He cannot use this past 15 minutes. If he does, he can keep going, but he dies, and that's that. So let me know how you feel about this ability. Is it too strong? Is it too weak? Is it just right? Should I do another one on Guts? I know I'm going to do a part 2 on Toji eventually because there's just so many things I could do with him. But yeah, leave a like, comment another character you would like to see. Try not to comment somebody who just like is ridiculous. Like don't do like Beerus or somebody like that or Whis, because there's just no way to replicate their abilities, or somebody like Rimuru. Like keep it, you know, go hard. Like Gojo, it would be hard, but I can still do that. Trust me. Things like that. Somebody said Sho and Boruto. I can manage those, even though those are difficult, but don't go off the rails. But yeah, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I will catch you next one, guys. Peace. 大事にしなかった私の頭は森みたいな